All right, today we are cracking open a playbook from a really intense world, high-stakes international telesales. We're going to do a deep dive into this aggressive, super results-driven philosophy called always be closing. This is all based on a manual designed to teach salespeople how to get C-level execs on the phone and, well, sell to them. So let's jump right in.
So right off the bat, let's just tear down a huge myth. You've heard this a million times, right? Great salespeople are just born with it. Well, the manual we're looking at basically says that's nonsense. The whole idea is that with the right training, the right drive, and a whole lot of persistence, literally anyone can master this stuff and become a top-tier pro.
So how do you do it? Well, we're going to break down their entire system into 5 main stages. First, we'll get into the mindset. Then we'll look at the toolkit for asking the right questions before you even pitch. From there, we'll dissect the pitch itself. Then it's on to the main event, all the different ways to close the deal. And finally, we'll see how they handle objections and turn a no into a yes.
Now, before a salesperson even picks up the phone, it all starts in their head. This isn't about memorizing a script. It's about adopting a whole philosophy, one that's all about control, creating urgency, and just having this relentless forward momentum.
The foundation of this whole thing is a really classic model you might have heard of, AIDA. It's an acronym. First, you have to grab their attention. Then you build interest. After that, you guide them toward a decision. And finally, you push them to take action. According to this playbook, AIDA isn't some abstract theory. It's literally the backbone of every single sales call.
And that brings us to the big idea, always be closing. Now, this can sound a little aggressive, but it's not really about being pushy. It's a philosophy. It means that every single thing you do, every single thing you say, has to be moving the conversation closer to the sale. You're always guiding, always pushing forward, one step at a time.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how exactly do you guide that conversation? Well, it all starts with the questions you ask. Mastering the art of questioning is what lets you take control of the call right from the get-go and, more importantly, keep it. So the manual splits questions into 2 very different toolkits. On one side, you've got your open questions, the who, what, where, when, why questions. These are for getting information and building a little rapport. But, and this is a huge rule in the playbook, you never let the prospect talk for more than 2 minutes straight. Any longer and you've lost control. On the other side, you have closed questions, are, is, do. These are your tools for getting quick confirmations and little yeses along the way, constantly steering things toward the close.
All right, now let's talk about the pitch. At first glance, the structure seems pretty straightforward, totally logical. But this manual pulls back the curtain and reveals a kind of hidden structure, a secret rhythm that turns a normal pitch into a closing machine.
So this is what most people are taught. It's the standard pitch. You introduce yourself, you qualify the person you're talking to, you tell them why you're calling, you do a little fact-finding, present your stuff, and then way at the end, you go for the close. Makes sense, right? Seems totally logical. But it's not how the pros do it.
And this is the secret sauce. This is the manual's core secret. The real structure isn't to close at the end. It's to close after every single step. You introduce yourself, then you try to close. You qualify them, then you try to close. You state the reason for your call, and guess what? You try to close again. It's this relentless chain of tiny commitments that builds this unstoppable momentum toward that final signature.
Which, of course, brings us to the most exciting part of the call, the close itself. And we're not just talking about one single moment. This is a whole arsenal of different techniques, each one designed to secure the deal no matter what the situation is.
The number one foundational rule is just brutally simple. You must always ask for the deal. The manual is crystal clear on this. If you don't actually ask for it, you're never ever going to get it. Any hesitation is your worst enemy. At the very end of the pitch, you bring out the master close. It's a really direct personal question. Notice the phrasing. Is this something that you yourself want to get involved in? That emphasis on you yourself is deliberate. It's designed to cut through the corporate jargon and get a personal commitment, not just a business one. But you don't always swing for the fences right away. A trial close is how you test the waters. You take their temperature. By asking something that assumes they're moving forward, like, what kind of artwork are you running? You're acting like the decision is already made. Their answer tells you everything you need to know about where their head is at.
Okay, this one is probably one of the most powerful psychological tools in the entire playbook. The silent close. You ask a direct closing question, and then you shut up. You just wait.
That silence creates this incredible pressure, and the manual is blunt. The first person to speak loses. If the prospect cracks, they'll almost always reveal their final objection or their true feelings.
Now, the cold close is just pure confidence. Even if a prospect tells you right at the beginning, "I'm not making a decision today," you ask for the deal anyway. Why would you do that? Because how they say no then will reveal the real reason they're hesitating. It's a power move that forces their true objection out into the open.
So, if the direct close doesn't land, you pivot to the conditional close. This is that classic, if I do this for you, then will you do that for me technique. You can see it on the screen. If I can get that information to you, will you be getting involved? It's an amazing way to lock in a firm commitment for the next step and keep control of the process.
But look, obviously not every call ends with a simple yes. The final piece of this puzzle is knowing how to handle objections. The trick here is to completely reframe them. They're not roadblocks, they're actually buying signals in disguise.
And this is the mindset shift that's absolutely crucial. An objection is not a rejection. It's not a no. It's actually a sign that they're engaged. They're listening, they're thinking, and they're basically just asking for more information before they say yes. A real objection is a fantastic opportunity.
And one of the go-to techniques for this is called feel, felt, found. It's a simple 3-step process. First, you empathize. I totally understand how you feel. Then, you show them they're not alone by using a third-party story. You know, a lot of our other clients felt the exact same way. And finally, you bring it home with the solution. But what they found was, it's just a brilliant formula for turning a worry into a reason to buy.
And that's really the whole point, isn't it? You're not just answering their question. You are taking a moment that could have been negative and immediately flipping it back into a positive movement towards the close. You handle it, and then you get right back to the business of closing the deal.
Which brings us to one last thought. So, after you made your pitch, you've navigated all the objections, and you've just asked that final direct closing question, what is the single most powerful, most effective thing you can possibly do in that exact moment?
You wait. You use the silent close, and you let that pressure do the work for you. Because in that quiet moment, everything hangs in the balance. The next person who speaks is going to reveal it all. It's a pretty powerful reminder that sometimes the best sales tool isn't something you say, it's something you don't.